Walk into any museum and look into the glass cases, the stone tools, the chipped pottery, the little carved figures with their worn down faces. Now, understand something genuinely strange about what you are looking at. Almost all of it is garbage, not treasure, not tribute, not sacred offerings carefully placed for the ages. Just things that somebody thousands of years ago broke or dropped or got sick of and threw away. Our entire picture of the ancient world, everything we think we know about how people lived, was assembled piece by piece out of other people's rubbish. So what exactly did ancient humans do with their trash? And why is it, without any competition at all, the single most valuable thing they ever left behind? Because here is the first thing to understand. Almost everywhere humans have ever lived, there is a layer. You are probably standing above one right now. It is dark and greasy and packed with cracked bones, ash, splintered stone, and the shells of 10,000 old meals. Archaeologists have a proper word for this layer. They call it a midden. You and I would just call it the dump. And to an archaeologist, finding one is like striking gold, because that greasy dark layer is the closest thing we will ever have to a diary of the ancient world. And you might reasonably ask, why the garbage? Why not the temples, the tombs, the great monuments? And the answer is beautifully simple, because everything else is a performance. A tomb is what a person wanted you to think of them. A monument is a story a ruler chose to tell about himself. A grave is arranged by the living to say something about the dead. All of it is curated. All of it is the ancient equivalent of a carefully chosen photograph. But nobody in the entire history of our species has ever curated their rubbish pile. Nobody arranges their trash to impress the future. And that is exactly why it is so precious. The garbage is the only place where ancient people are completely accidentally honest. So what does that honesty actually tell us? Very nearly every. Start with dinner. From the bones in a midden, we do not just learn that people ate deer. We learn which deer and how old it was when it died, and therefore what season it was killed in. We learn which parts of the animal came back to camp, which tells us how far away it was hunted and how heavy the load was. We learn how the meat was cut off the bone, because the stone tools leave fine little scratches, and those scratches are still there, thousands of years later. We can tell if the bones were cracked open for the marrow inside, which is what people do when times are hard and nothing can be wasted. A single pile of kitchen scraps can tell you what a family ate, when they ate it, how they cooked it, how hard they were working for it, and whether that year they were going hungry. And it goes far beyond food. Shells tell us how far people traveled or how far they traded, because a seashell in a camp 200 miles inland did not walk there. Charcoal tells us which wood they burned and can be dated, giving us the age of everything around it. Broken pottery is so useful it is almost unfair, because styles changed constantly. So a handful of smashed pot fragments can date a site and reveal who these people were talking to, learning from, and trading with. Even the tiniest scraps matter. Seeds and pollen reveal the plants they gathered and the landscape they lived in. And their own waste, quite literally, preserved in the right conditions, tells us what they digested and even which parasites they were carrying. A rubbish heap is not just a record of a meal. It is a record of an entire way of life. So here is a question worth sitting with. How do we know what a family ate for dinner on a particular evening 40,000 years ago? Nobody wrote it down. There are no records, no receipts, no witnesses. And the answer is that they told us. They just had no idea they were doing it. They told us in the one place where nobody in history has ever bothered to lie. And if you doubt that garbage is more honest than people are, we have actually tested it. Starting in the 1970s, researchers in Arizona did something nobody had tried before. They systematically sorted through the household rubbish of an ordinary modern city, and then compared what they found to what those same households said about themselves in surveys. The results were wonderfully damning. People consistently underreported how much alcohol they drank and how much junk food they ate. They overreported the healthy thing, and they had no real idea how much perfectly good food they were throwing away. The lesson was clear, and it reaches all the way back through the archaeological record. People will misremember, exaggerate, and quietly edit their own lives. Their bins never do. But now for the part that surprises people most. What was ancient trash actually made of? And the answer is that for almost the entire span of human history, garbage was, in a word, food. Bones, shells, husks, and skins. Then ash from the fire and stone chips from making tools, and pottery once that came along, and broken bits of wood and bone and antler that could not be repaired again. And here's the crucial thing about that list. Nearly all of it either rots back into the ground or is simply rock. Their rubbish did not sit there for 10,000 years poisoning the soil. It broke down, it fed the earth, and it quietly enriched the very ground they lived on. In fact, those greasy old middens are often the most fertile patches for miles around, and you can sometimes spot an ancient settlement from the air purely because the plants growing over the old dump are greener and taller than everything around them. Now, we should be honest about this because it is tempting to turn it into a story about how wise and gentle our ancestors were, and that would not really be true. They were not tidy out of virtue. They were mostly lucky. There were very few of them, so the sheer volume of waste was tiny. They made almost everything out of materials that were alive relatively recently, and living things rot. And when a camp got genuinely foul, which it certainly did, the simplest answer was available. You moved. You picked up and walked to a cleaner spot, and the earth quietly dealt with what you left behind. It was not a philosophy of sustainability, it was a small population using biodegradable materials with the freedom to walk away. And we should be honest about something else too, because the archaeological record is not a perfect window. It is a badly warped one. Bone, stone, shell, and pottery survive. But baskets, ropes, wooden tools, leather, textiles, and nets almost never do. They rot away completely, leaving nothing behind. So our whole picture of the ancient world is tilted heavily toward the hard, ugly, durable things. We call it the Stone Age, but it might just as fairly be called the Wood Age, or the basket age. It is simply that stone is what lasted. When you see a museum case of chipped flint, you are not seeing what their lives looked like. You are seeing the tiny fraction of it that refused to decay. Then, roughly 12,000 years ago, everything about garbage changed because we stopped moving. Once people settled down and started farming, that old solution, just walk somewhere cleaner, disappeared. Now the same families lived in the same place for generation after generation, and their waste piled up right alongside them. And what happened next is one of the strangest facts in archaeology. Those piles got so large that people simply began building on top of them. Old rubbish, old collapsed mud houses, old ash and bone packed down into a solid mound, and a new house went up on the flattened top. Then that one collapsed, and another was built above it. Over thousands of years, entire towns slowly rose into the air on the compacted remains of their own garbage, forming great artificial hills that are still standing today, all across the Middle East and beyond. Whole cities quite literally lifted up on their own trash, but that also meant living permanently with your own mess. Rats, flies, disease, rubbish thrown into the street until it was ankle deep. It took thousands of years of that before organized rubbish collection and proper sanitation became normal. And much of the modern world only really solved this problem within the last century or two. And that brings us, finally, to us. Because we have done something no generation before us has ever done. We have made garbage that does not go away. For 300,000 years, human trash was bone and ash and shell and stone, and it quietly returned to the earth. Ours will not. The plastic, the metals, the synthetics, they will still be sitting there, recognizable, long after every one of us is gone. Future archaeologists digging down through the layers will find our era instantly. There will be a distinct band in the ground, a thin, bright line of packaging and plastic and ash, and it will be the most obvious thing in the entire sequence. They will not need to guess when we live. Our garbage will announce it. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of person I make these for. Subscribe, and we'll go find the next strange thing together. And here is the thought I cannot shake. Your garbage knows more about you than your friends do. What you really eat, really drink, really buy, and quietly throw away. Not the version of your life you show people. The real one. Every ancient person whose rubbish we have ever dug up was writing an honest, unedited autobiography. And not one of them knew it. Neither do you. Their story survived because their trash rotted away and became soil. Ours will survive because ours will not rot at all.